Hi, it's Akemi from Akemi Kai Inner Beauty, where we make our outer life beautiful by making our insides beautiful. And I like to talk about law of assumption and inner work. So today I want to talk about the ethics of manifesting an SP. It's a topic that comes up a lot in the comment sections on tons of content creators who are doing law of assumption. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. I have my own ideas about it, and I think it's actually a very easy answer. And so let's dive into it. A lot of people, when they first come to law of assumption, they're coming to law of assumption because they want to manifest an SP. What's an SP? SP just stands for your, special person, like your significant other, like somebody that you want to have a relationship with. And for a lot of people, it's because they're a little older in their lives now, and they have had a number of relationships that were unsuccessful, that followed similar patterns, and they're struggling again with the same pattern coming up with somebody, and that person is like moving away from them, not talking to them, blocking them, whatever. Or they had a relationship that ended due to some unhealthy patterns, and they don't know how to fix it, and they want to get back with that person and heal it and have a successful outcome. Or they just are kind of in a relationship and they're having some kind of a dynamic where they feel like, they're always chasing after the other person who's always running away from them, or something like that, where they're just not feeling satisfied. Maybe they've identified the other person as an avoidant. And, there are a lot of different terms for the kinds of things that people are experiencing, but it all kind of boils down to the same thing when you dive into it. So dive into the videos on this channel, because it is going to help you to understand what this is all about and how you can do your inner work to clean it up and be happier and get the outcomes back on track with happiness, harmony, love, affection, and emotional fulfillment, instead of dragging yourself around in these painful relationship dynamics. So let's talk about the ethics of manifesting an SP. Why? Well, a lot of people, when they come to law of assumption, they're thinking like maybe they were doing law of attraction or something before. And then they start following some law of assumption YouTubers, or, on TikTok or Instagram, and they start learning about the law of assumption, and they find that I can get my ex back, or I can get my person who's not wanting to date me and I'm wanting to date them, by saying affirmations and like changing reality so that they want to be with me, right? So then you have people come in and be like, well, what's the ethics of that? Like, people have free will. Like, what are you doing? Like, that sounds pretty sketchy. Yeah, it is sketchy if that's how you're viewing reality. And if you're asking that question, what it means is that you don't understand what law of assumption reality is. It's a different view on reality. So it means you're coming to law of assumption from a different view of reality. Okay. So if you're coming from your typical view of reality, let's just call it victim reality, because that's what it is. I'm the victim of everything else that's going on here. Like, I got no control over it. It's all just happening to me. The best I can do is fight well, or develop some kind of strategy, like binge watch TikTok and become a black cat, or like sprinkle, or learn some kind of strategy, or text these messages to manipulate people to get the outcomes I want. That is like victim view on reality. Like, I'm here and everything's happening to me. That's not law of assumption reality. Law of assumption is based on a completely different view on what reality is and who you are in it and how it operates. So let's go to the basics. Neville Goddard is the person who came up with this concept So I highly recommend that you just go on a Neville Goddard YouTube watching binge some weekend with some popcorn. Maybe I like to play games on my phone and just listen to him, because he is so fantastic, and it really helps you to understand the underlying concepts, okay? Because if you're just watching content creators, you might not have even really gotten the foundations in your head. And one of the things I'm trying to do on this channel is talk about the foundations. Sorry, I'm sticking to my chair because it's very hot where I live. Okay, so let's talk about what is the law of assumption reality. What is the view of reality? The view of reality is that if you want to watch some movies that help you understand, then go watch Doctor Strange or Everything, what is it? Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That's a good one. You can watch The Truman Show. You can watch The Matrix. These are movies that are basically exploring this concept, which is that we're in a holographic universe. The Big Bang, everything was created all at once. Every single possibility is all part of the whole creation. It's multiple timelines, and every timeline is a version of you that took a different choice point somewhere, right? It all exists. In law of assumption, you're not sitting here gaining power, then being a puppet master, controlling people on their strings with your will. That's not what you're doing. What you're doing is shifting your own vibrational belief. You've got an internal navigation system. Your internal navigation system is like a black box inside of you. It is generating all of the experiences around you. And what's inside that black box are your assumptions. That's why it's called law of assumption. Your assumptions. What the world is. Who am I? How do I think about myself? And not superficial, deep stuff. Do you feel like you're worthy? Are you worthy of love? Are you worthy of money? Are you worthy of being wealthy? Do you come from family that has a history of poverty? Do you have relatives that were living in war-torn countries? Are you coming from an immigrant family that has some really heavy baggage around hoarding and lack, and because there was poverty and starvation in their history? That stuff is in you. Law of assumption is, what are you carrying deep inside yourself, in your subconscious, that is manifesting outwardly? And that is dictating the kinds of relationships and experiences you're having. And if you want to change those things, that means you want to shift timelines. You want to shift timelines to the timeline where you're having a different experience. And how do you do that? You go back to your inner navigation system and you shift things in there, because that's what's generating all of this. Okay? So to get back to the question, is it ethical to manifest my SP? You're not gaining power and then putting your power out over somebody and being like a puppet master that's being I'm controlling him through my mind and my power to bring him back to me against his will. That's not what you're doing. What you're doing is shifting yourself to the timeline where you chose that person and that person chose you. And what do you have to do to get to that version of reality? You're not actually dealing with the version of that person that's in the current reality that you're in right now. Because the version that you're experiencing of that person on the timeline that you're at right now is based on the stuff that you have unresolved inside you. If you want to have a different experience with that person, then you have to change what's going on inside you that's causing them to show up that way. Does that make sense? You're shifting timelines to a timeline where you're different, so they're different. You're different, so your dynamic is different. Okay? I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions or you want me to talk about other things, you can leave comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi, it's Akemi from Akemi Kai Inner Beauty. Like and subscribe if you want to see more content, and feel free to leave a message in the comments if there's any topic that you want me to feature in an upcoming video. See you in there.